All right, my name is Moti Mordechai. I'm from Grace Breeding. I'm an agronomist, and in my career, I was working in agriculture for 35 years. Started as agronomist, as a field rep in Israel, and then later on, quite quick, I would say, I moved to the commercial and the business management of plant protection, working for plant protection companies, mainly for Adama, which I spent 25 years there. Grace Breeding is a company that established back in 2015 when the CTO, the guy that was running the company, joined up with a few investors based on compounds or based on research that try to develop new seeds, looking into seeds that can enhance production of specific compounds in the plant that then after is being extracted and used in the food industry or in the cosmetic industry and medicine. During the process of discovering and looking after this type of compound to make them commercial, a side test was made in order to check the level of antioxidation of each one of these compounds, and the thought led the company then to test this phenomena of antioxidation that works very well in animal health and in human medicine, and try to bring it to agriculture, to plants. It was a completely new idea at the time, but the process was screening something like 1,000 compounds from natural sources, extracts basically of plants that already exist in the market. These compounds, you can find them in cosmetics, you can find them in medicine, you can find them in many places, safe places, because part of the intention was to find compounds that are non-toxic, that we will be able to use safely and move out from the toxic compounds that unfortunately still being used in agriculture. Combining this with the let's put it this way, after we run the screen, or the guy ran the screen, he came up with 5 compounds that basically have the highest level of antioxidation in them. And then he started to play, to mix them and to test them on different organisms. It was tested on bacteria, on plants, it was tested on animals. And with all the results and all this good impact that discovered, we ended up then with a formula or a combination of 5 antioxidants, strong antioxidants in a certain proportion, and we created what we call the core of the technology that basically being used until today in our products. Along the years, we tested them in many crops, in many places, and the best, or at least we observed the best impact first on corn. Of course, there was impact also in other crops, in other areas, but corn show a good response to the compound, and the decision was to focus on corn in order to bring it to the market. We believe that this can really support the crop, support the growers, and bring value to corn market, which is growing lately. So that's how Maoz came to life. And of course, Maoz also had a series of tests. We started with a certain formula, and then we came with improvements along the years, following the results that the field trials gave us, the results that we got from the laboratories. We tested it with universities, and this was the main period of development. In 2022, the company decided to focus on the Brazilian market, on corn and soybean. That was the initial thought, because we saw results, we saw the benefits that this compound can bring to growers and to the corn crop. And now we are in the point where the product is registered already 3 years in Brazil as a biological product that can support, or the definition of the product in Brazil is organomineral compound that they basically intervene mostly in the seeding phase and the first stages of the plant, give it the benefits that takes it all the way to the yield, to the crop, to the harvest stage. And we saw in many tests in the field and in the laboratory and in between that we are getting better results, higher yields, healthier crop when using Maoz. And in a certain point, we started to reduce the amount of nitrogen given to the same plots to observe how much we can reduce the nitrogen and still keep the yield at the same level or even a bit more. So at this point of time, we are now with a product that registered in Brazil and being tested in the past few years in many places, in all the states, basically in Brazil, in all the important corn growing states, with research stations, with universities, 2 universities, and of course with companies, local companies that helped us to test it with farmers at farm level. One of the things that we did, we start from the beginning, we look for something that can easily being adopted by farmer without changing any of the practice that they are already doing. We are now at the point where we can recommend reduction up to 50% of the nitrogen given to the cornfield, put Maoz to replace the nitrogen and still getting the same level of yield. Now, how the Maoz work? I mean, I'll try to explain and describe the mode of action. Of course, it's a biological process